All right, welcome back. So we are focusing on former President Jacob Zuma and the imminent arrest. Police Minister Bheki Cele is in KwaZulu-Natal this afternoon, and he's expected to issue that order for the arrest of the former president. We've got our senior reporters in KwaZulu-Natal, Siphamandla Goge, who's in Nkandla, and we'll chat to Aviwe Mtila later, who's outside the Westville prison in Durban. Siphamandla, thank you so much for your time. You are in Nkandla. What's been happening there this afternoon?
Still very quiet here. Everything that is happening for now is just speculation. There is no clear direction as to what is happening. We know for a fact that Police Minister and National Police Commissioner, that is Police Minister General Bheki Cele and General Nkandla, who is the Police National Commissioner, are fast running out of time to basically meet the deadline of midnight tonight in terms of ensuring that police arrest the former President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Jacob Zuma. That is according to the Constitutional Court order. Up until there is something suspending that order, for now it stands. So we know for a fact that former President Jacob Zuma's legal team went to the High Court of KwaZulu-Natal Division, sitting in Pietermaritzburg, sitting to stay his pending arrest, and judgment was reserved in that matter when Judge Mnguni decided to say it will be handed down on Friday. Bonga Mkhize will show you what is happening outside former President Jacob Zuma's home at Nkandla. Nothing much happening, just members of MKMVA, and I think I see daughters of former President Jacob Zuma coming out of the main gate there. But other than that, you've got people purporting to be members of the disbanded MKMVA who are guarding the home of the former president. We understand that he is inside his home here at Nkandla. And we've been seeing an increased number of police vans patrolling in and around Nkandla. About an hour ago, one of the police vehicles was turned away by those men who are guarding the gate of the former president's home here. That van had members of the public order policing. It had to turn and go away. I can also tell you that on our way to Nkandla, I spotted a number of police vehicles stationed at Eshowe. Eshowe is about 45 minutes to an hour to former President Jacob Zuma's home at Nkandla. We also understand that there are reports about heavy police deployment at Mpangeni, which is not very far. It's about 1 hour, 30 minutes to 2 hours from Mpangeni to Nkandla. There are videos that have been circulating of that heavy police deployment. There are also reports that the National Intervention Unit is also in KwaZulu-Natal. Our sources within the police and the security cluster telling us that that team, if and when the time comes for the former president to be arrested, that team will lead the operation. Police's top brass have been meeting in Durban and in Pretoria, connecting virtually and otherwise to ensure that they plan this operation because they don't have many hours left. They haven't heard from the Constitutional Court in terms of what should happen. Police Minister General Bheki Cele wrote to the court seeking guidance and advice to say, in the meantime, pending the finalization of former President Jacob Zuma's application to the Constitutional Court to rescind the judgment, what should happen? Nothing forthcoming there. Our sources within the police ministry telling us that they were not expecting any clear directive from the court because the letter that they wrote was not quote-unquote legal. It was just a mere letter seeking clarity. So there is nothing binding the Constitutional Court to report or to rather respond to them. As things stand, that court order that police were given 3 days to arrest the former president should he not hand himself over stands. So we wait to see what will happen, but we understand that police's top brass are working hard to ensure that they put a plan in place that if and when the time comes, they will be able to come to Nkandla and arrest the former president. Whether they'll be able to do that or not, I guess we can only wait and see. But for now, anything and everything that is being spoken about is just pure speculation.
Yeah, the last time we spoke to Siphamandla, there were some concerns last week, in fact on Sunday, about possible gunshots. There were people that the police confirmed actually had ammunition in the crowds. It's interesting to see how it's a lot empty now outside the former president's home, but you're seeing a lot more police officers, increased security compared to the last time.
When you drive through, from Durban to Nkandla, the northern part of KwaZulu-Natal, now and again you will find police's roadblocks. Even when you enter Nkandla, 5 kilometers to the former president's home, there are police stationed there. They are conducting roadblocks, search and seizure. And I can tell you that from Eshowe 2, which is the nearest town of Ramping to Nkandla, there are police's roadblocks there. So I can tell you that they have basically beefed up in terms of roadblocks. They are searching each and every car that comes towards the former president's home. But the fact that it's relatively quiet here today does not mean that the former president doesn't have support. His supporters are coordinating. Of course, remember that yesterday many people were expecting that the Pietermaritzburg High Court was going to provide a clear direction whether to dismiss the former president's application or to grant the application to stay his arrest. Now, Judge Mnguni decided to say he needs time to go through the presentation's arguments so that he can summarize what has been presented to him and hand down judgment on Friday. By that time, today's deadline would have lapsed. So former President Jacob Zuma's supporters were caught off guard, quote unquote, because they were thinking about next week, Monday, the 12th, and that's the outcome they were eagerly looking forward to. But I can tell you that across the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Free State, Mpumalanga, and some parts of the Eastern Cape and Gauteng, they are busy coordinating and sending WhatsApp messages to say those who are nearer must come and report for duty here, quote unquote, to protect the former president.
Are the police going to allow that, Spar? Because the criticism on the police minister was that they could have acted. There was a gathering outside the former president's home. Gatherings are not allowed as part of the lockdown regulations. Yes, they've already indicated that they didn't want violence to break out. There were people that had, guns in the crowds. But do you get a sense from the police presence you've observed so far, do you get a sense that if people, supporters of the former president, wanted to come and gather outside his home, they would be allowed to do so like they were able to do so on Sunday?
The sense I get, or I got earlier, was that many people have been turned away here. There are roadblocks coming from Eshowe direction and also Kranskop direction on my right. There are two ways to access Nkandla or past former President Jacob Zuma's home. Those who are familiar with KwaZulu-Natal will tell you that when you travel from Greytown side to Kranskop, which is in the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, you go via Nkandla. When you're coming from Durban, you travel all the way to Eshowe, you off-ramp, you come to Nkandla. So Eshowe, Kranskop and Greytown, there are roadblocks that have been set up. Some people who have already arrived here at former President Jacob Zuma's home, that's outside the home, have told me that most of their friends and comrades were stopped either near Eshowe or near Kranskop. So it's much more difficult this time around to access the former president's vicinity or the home of the former president's vicinity. That is the sense I got earlier on. Police are trying to prevent people from reaching the homestead of former President Jacob Zuma, because once they get here, it will be difficult for them to disperse those people or to arrest them. One police officer, a source, told me that their preoccupation right now, their priority is to ensure that they are not in violation of the constitutional court order, which is to arrest the former president after the deadline has expired. That deadline expires midnight today. So they are really preoccupied with putting an operation plan in place to say if and when the time comes, how are they going to execute that plan without tension, without escalation, without bloodshed. Our sources telling us that police's top brass are really worried about what may transpire should supporters of former President Jacob Zuma resist that he be arrested. So, in fact, the term that is going around within the police's top brass is that they do not want another Marikana here, whether with the former president's security detail or those who are purporting to be members of the MKMVA, which we know is disbanded, or just ordinary supporters of former President Jacob Zuma. By the way, our viewers would recall that tensions between former President Jacob Zuma's security detail in the past has happened when he was the deputy president. If my memory serves me well, it was in Forest Town, 2005, when there was that search and seizure operation there. We saw that tension between the security personnel of the former president, who was the deputy president at the time. So it's really a difficult one for the police, but nonetheless, there is a constitutional order, there is a constitutional court order to be executed, and time is fast running out for the police minister and the police national commissioner. Those are the two people who were cited by Justice Siphamandla when she handed down that judgment to say if the former president does not hand himself over within 5 calendar days, police were given 3 days, and that expires midnight today.
Yeah, in just less than 8 hours, Siphamandla. You may have a long night, right? May have a long shift today. Let's see how things develop this afternoon. I want to take you to Durban now, where we find our senior reporter, Aviwe Mtila, who's outside the Westville prison. Aviwe, thank you for also coming through. We spoke earlier. Talk to us about the preparations, talking to the correctional services. What preparations are they making? Because once the order has been effected, the attention now moves to correctional services.
Well, Clement, the preparations can only begin once the police bring the former president to the prison here. That's when the preparation can officially begin. I've been told by Goge, who is the Correctional Services spokesperson, that upon arrival here with the former president, the police will have to hand over the J7 form, which is also the warrant of arrest. And then from there on, a 6-hour period will be given for the former president to be checked, for examination to happen. That includes a medical examination as well as a mental check, also just assessing the risks around where to put him. I understand that there are 3 sections that make up the Westville Correctional Service. One of the sections is the high risk, a medium as well as a low risk section. That of course goes determined by the length of your sentence and exactly the extent of the crime that you've been sentenced for. So in speaking to the Correctional Services spokesperson, it suggests that the president is facing a 15-month sentence, so that alone could put him along the low risk section of the prison, as well as the age that needs to be considered of the former statesman, as he's expected to live out his sentence of the 15-month duration at the Westville Correctional Centre.
All right, Aviwe Mtila, we'll check in with you as well as the day progresses. We're doing this as we count down to that deadline, midnight deadline for the former, not the former, but the current Police Minister Bheki Cele to effect the arrest of the former President Jacob Zuma.